and welcome to the 17th episode of the Coffin Corner Podcast. I'm your host, GoodNightPunk, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Richie. Richie, what's
up?
I
like how you pause before you say my name.
Listen. I almost
who's
called
this
you,
guy?
I almost called you Wink. That's.
And he just opened the sangria and he's already forgetting my name.
I haven't even taken a sip of it. See, I'm getting flashbacks of the Shadow Order podcast. I got the sangria. I'm doing this almost the same intro. I almost called you Wink. So there you go. You're welcome. Every week, I'm going to forget your name. Just so you know.
Would have just logged off.
Yeah.
I would have just been done. I'm like, all right, you know what? Forget this.
If that's who you want, you call him in right now.
Yeah, you call him. No, I'm glad to be here, man. This is it's been an interesting season, and recapping it every Friday has been a lot of fun. And man, as we get closer to the playoffs, there's going to be even more to talk about.
Has it not? This has been a wild, not only as
a
NFL fan in general, but as a fan of your team, the Commanders, a fan of the Lions,
yeah.
Just absolutely insane. Even the Raiders, even though they lost last night, even the Raiders were on a 3-game win streak, and at one point they were 2-8?
Yep. I mean, you figure the Super Bowl champions lost 6 games in a row. The Cardinals have completely fallen off the face of the earth. I mean, there's just a lot of topsy-turviness going on with the teams, and then you get all the injuries to guys like Lamar Jackson, Cooper Kupp, Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo going down for the 49ers. I mean, it's just been, there's so many different things. I can't wait after the season ends.
Former number 1 picks are dropped mid-season.
Yes, just outright cuts.
And also picked up mid-season and start a game 2 days later and then win that game? What?
Lead a 13-point comeback in 2 minutes.
Dude.
For only the 4th time in the last 25 years, or I think it's 4 times in 25 years, and 2 of them happened within 4 days.
That'll be fun to talk about when we get to our parlay section. But
crazy.
Yeah, that's a good little recap of the madness so far.
It's gonna be fun when when the season ends and we don't have something to talk about every week. We can do like a team by team recap of their season. And there's going to be so much to talk about for every team.
For real. That'll be super fun.
Yeah, it's been a nutty year. But let's dive right into it. Speaking of quarterbacks and number 1 overall picks and all that jazz.
Yeah, so I've got a new top 5 for us this week. I decided to go based on, Baker going number 1 and getting dropped mid-season from his 2nd team, now on his 3rd team in 4 or 5 years in the league? That's crazy.
It's his 3rd team this year.
Is it his 3rd this year?
He was a Brown in January.
Oh, yes, that is correct. Man, that's freaking crazy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the top 5 this week is going to be top 5 teams that we think needs to be looking at drafting a quarterback in the 2023 NFL draft. Not necessarily a first rounder, but a quarterback in general. I mostly went for people that needed a quarterback to either sit behind someone or play immediately. I didn't really worry about this team has a quarterback and they're going to need a backup though. I didn't worry about that, but basically you can pick a quarterback in any round for some of these teams and they need them. So that leads me into my number 1, and that is the Lions, because that might not, a lot of Lions fans don't put the Lions on a list for a need of a quarterback right this moment because of the fact of the way that Jared Goff is playing. And I do not like Jared Goff, if you don't know me. And I will even admit that he is playing amazing right now. I don't think that'll last, but this is what I'll say about the Lions needing to draft a quarterback. They don't have a backup. Their backups they went into camp with, they cut them both. And then they picked up somebody else's scraps to be their backup this year. Last year, Goff was hurt. The scraps had to play, and it was absolutely horrid. So I don't know why they didn't draft a quarterback last year, even if Goff was the starter. this year they absolutely have to draft a quarterback, a young quarterback, whether it's a first or second round pick, to be the backup to Goff or to possibly be the starter when Goff starts throwing the thousands of interceptions in the fourth quarter like he likes to do. So that's my team. That's the Lions, and there you go. And it's funny because I erased Commanders there to put the Lions, thinking your 5 would be Commanders.
No, you know what I did when I looked at this, first off, you did say drafting a quarterback. So I looked at teams that I thought wouldn't sign a free agent. Because, I mean, speaking of Baker Mayfield, if that guy continues to play the rest of the season like he did last night, he's going to get signed by a team that wants to start him. And he fits the Commanders' play-action deep ball offense. Mm-hmm. So I do strongly believe that he is a contender for them to sign. And if we're picking late teens, early 20s, I don't think there'll be a quarterback worth taking in the first round. We may still take a second or third round. I don't know. But I tried to look at the ones that I figured were desperately needing to draft some of the top quarterbacks in this draft. So my number 5 is actually the Saints. The problem is the Saints don't have a first-round pick. But the Saints have a desperate need at quarterback. They don't believe Jameis Winston's the answer anymore. Andy Dalton is definitely not the answer. So they need to find... Right. They need to find their future quarterback. But they're not going to do it in the first round because they don't have a pick. So I kind of cheated. I said the Saints, but without a first-round pick, they're not going to. I agree the Lions, especially with their 2 first-round picks. The Rams right now, I think, depending on what happens with the Bears on Sunday, they're either going to be the 2nd or 3rd overall pick that they're giving to Detroit. If Baker keeps winning for them, it's going to hurt Detroit's overall pick, which sucks because if you ended up with the number 2 or 3 pick, take the second best quarterback available after Houston, you're good to go.
Yep.
But if they fall in love with someone, they can use their 2 first to move up. So I think Detroit needs to make a swing. They clearly have a lot of pieces in place on that offense. I mean, Amon St. Brown's amazing. The 2 running backs, the defense is stepping up. Like it feels like Detroit is finally rebuilding. Like, you're a fan of the franchise. You have been for years. I don't recall seeing them at a point like this since the Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford early days, where it's like, oh, there's actually hope behind this franchise. But Goff is not the guy that's going to win you a Super Bowl. It's a lot like Heineke with the Commanders. He may win you games. He's not going to win you a Super Bowl. They need to go find the quarterback that's going to win them a Super Bowl. So the Saints need one, but I think the Lions will draft one.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I would say the Saints are in line to maybe pick up someone to, unless Winston's like completely gone. Is he hurt right now? Or no, he's not hurt.
No, he's not
playing, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's just the backup. They just lost faith in him. So
yeah, who knows what they'll do then?
Yeah, I mean, they could be another team that tries to go after Baker Mayfield, or who knows what quarterbacks get shuffled around with trades this offseason. It always seems to happen.
Yeah. Well, this
Jimmy
past
Garoppolo.
Year
yeah,
was the absolute craziest. They had what? Russell Wilson moved, Deshaun Watson moved, Baker Mayfield moved,
Matt Ryan
moved. There was just so many quarterbacks that moved this past year. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, you figure out, and then Brady and Stafford the last couple of years. Like, it always seems like teams are willing to move on from their older quarterbacks. So the Saints may be somebody that looks at that, but I don't know. Who you got? Who did you have as number 4? I actually had a question about this one.
So my number 4 is the Jets. They've already given up on Zach Wilson. Unfortunate for him. He seemed like a cool dude, but he just could not figure it out. Mike White actually has been playing 2 games. He's played really, really good. He didn't do a lot as far as scoring went last week, but as far as stats went, if some little things had gone his way, he would have probably had a lot better game than just the stats that he got. So I feel like Mike White, if he can put together the rest of the season pretty well, they might not even worry about quarterbacks. But if he fizzles out, and if he's one of those backup quarterbacks that plays well for a few games and then suddenly comes back to earth like they seem to do, then they'll definitely need a quarterback. But That's why I have the Jets on the list. Because they are a good team. They need a quarterback. And if Mike White's that guy, that's fine. And if it's someone else, that'll work too.
Because Zach Wilson, this is only his second year, and I don't know if a team's gonna move on. I mean, the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen, after drafting him that high to move on this offseason. But I think this is a team that maybe in the middle rounds could draft someone and bring them in as competition for Zach Wilson and Mike White, assuming White continues to play well. I guess I don't see them drafting one high. Is what I'm saying. Like I would be surprised if they having Zach Wilson and yeah, he's in my opinion not the answer. But they've already invested a lot in him, and I think they might want to give him at least one more season, kind of play it out for his rookie deal and then make a decision. But who knows?
Yeah. It's not a good sign when you are healthy scratched in your second year. That's just not good.
Yeah.
So.
Well, didn't that happen to Tua last year?
Yes, but Tua's in a different situation because it was different coaches. So, Mike.
No, I'm not a Zach Wilson apologist or believer. I mean, I think that guy's a bust anyway.
I think going between Mike Flores, Mike McDaniels, was it Mike Flores? What was his name? Brian Flores.
Brian Flores, yes.
Who I really liked, by the way.
Yeah.
But going between him and Mike McDaniels and everything that's been going on there since Tua was drafted, I feel like this is finally the first season he's actually getting a shot. He was just kind of there with no hype, you never heard anything about him. He was injured a lot. This is the first season where we're getting a taste of what Tua can or be or what he is. So we'll see what happens.
I was just curious. I don't know. I guess I don't know if the Jets. I gotta remember they're not picking very high with them having a good record. So maybe they're a team that takes a second or a third rounder as a backup or just camp competition. But
there's always a Heisman winner sitting in the late first round.
Yeah, well, Caleb Williams is going to win that Heisman this year.
There's always a really good quarterback in the late part of the first round somehow.
Yeah.
So,
well, my number 4 is the Colts because Matt Ryan. I mean, he's old. He's clearly at the end of his career. Washed. They need to invest. Yeah, they need to invest in a good quarterback. They have Sam Ehlinger, but they started him for a few games. Wasn't that impressive? They're going to be picking, I think, in the top 10. So I could definitely see them taking a chance on somebody, or if not, drafting one in the first round. They'll be one of the first teams in the second or third round, I think, to do it because they just got to do something. They got to do something to address the future of the position. If they want Matt Ryan to stick around for another year, that's fine. But you got to do something to figure out what you're going to be doing going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I completely agree. For a place that has always been so quarterback driven between Peyton Manning, for them not to have one or I don't know, for them not to have continuity at the position is just weird. So
yeah, I mean, you figure they had Manning for 13 years and then Andrew Luck for 5, and then ever since then they've just kind of been floating around between Jacoby Brissett and Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan, and they need to lock up the position because they've got. I mean, Alec Pierce looks good, Michael Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, obviously, they've got the talent there. They just need a quarterback to solidify the offense, and I think they'll have a high enough pick to have a chance at one, whether or not they decide to take it. But they need to bring in someone fresh for next season.
Yes, I agree. My number 3 is the Falcons, because of the fact that they are right there on the verge of being a good team. They can't find ways to win. They're right teetering on the edge, and They need a quarterback that's not Mariota. He is a decent game manager for them. But as you can see, being a game manager for them is not enough. What they need is a actual quarterback and some more targets. Kyle Pitts to come back, Drake London to break out and get a few more targets in there as far as wide receivers go, and they'll be in a good situation. Even though the running back isn't really solidified. But just between Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson, even if you don't feel like Cordarrelle's a normal running back, but that hybrid running back that he is, they're good. They're good with that. So I feel like if they had a quarterback, they'd be in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, Patterson and Algier have combined for good rushing yards the last couple of games. Like, neither one of them really stands out. I mean, Patterson's, the kick returner. But they complement each other well. And I'm curious now that they've, announced they're moving forward with Desmond Ridder after the bye week. He's got 4 or 5 games to show if he can be that guy, and if not, if he struggles, then yeah, absolutely, they're going to be looking for a quarterback in next year's draft. Because again, they'll be drafting top 15, so there's always a quarterback that's going to fall. But I'm curious to see how Ridder responds.
That's the craziest part about this, right? Making this list, I really didn't think too much about the quarterbacks that were drafted last year. I forgot all about Ridder as far as the Falcons go. But the thing about them moving on or not seeing Ridder as their quarterback of the future is, I don't know how many of the teams that drafted a quarterback last year actually look at the quarterbacks they got as the quarterbacks of the future, including Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, like all those guys, because of the fact they were all just taken so late in the draft. Like, I don't know why they all fell that far, whether they just were like rolling the dice with these teams were rolling the dice just to see how long they could wait, because that is a very expensive position. So the later that you can draft them, the better it is on your money situation. But I don't know where these teams see those quarterbacks as far as future stars in the league. You know what I mean?
I think with Ridder, because he was if I'm not mistaken, he was a 3rd round pick, which isn't too bad. And I think the Falcons are doing it right with at least seeing what they have in him, because if he does enough, it saves them from having to make a move at quarterback. If they didn't have him at all, they would absolutely have to make a move at quarterback. It does give them the option of saying, well, you know what, we'll wait another year and see how we do with Ridder, and then 2024, when you've got guys like Caleb Williams coming out, who everyone's drooling over, then they maybe make a swing at him. But yeah, because like Tennessee, they've got Ryan Tannehill. I think he's probably gone after this year. And I didn't put them on here because they already have Malik Willis. I think they'll cut Tannehill to save the cap space, and they'll just roll with Willis. I don't think they'll draft another one. And if they do, it'd be more like a 5th rounder and not really competition. But yeah, I mean, the Falcons, I do agree they need to make a move at quarterback, which they are. It's just, for me, the jury's out. I'm going to give Ridder the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what? Let's see how you do to end the year. But if he plays, and here's the thing, the Texans did that with Davis Mills last year, and he played well enough to trick them into not drafting a quarterback, and then he came in this season and just completely shit the bed. So it's dangerous for the Falcons if Ridder comes out and plays, marginally well, for them to be like, you know what, we're going to pass on a quarterback next year. And then they come in next year and Ridder does nothing, and all of a sudden it's like the Texans, like completely lost season, and now we need a quarterback. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle that. But my number 3,
your 4 is your 3, or your 2 is your 3, and then we'll go with our 2s the same.
Oh, I was gonna do my 3 because it leads right into your 2.
Oh, that works too.
Yeah. So my 3, Tampa Bay clearly needs a quarterback. Tom Brady will not be on that team for week 1 of 2023. They absolutely will not be. That dude cannot come back. I don't care what he did on Monday, how great it was. He cannot come back next year. He's 46. He's playing average at best. Yes, he's still Tom Brady. Yes, he's still capable of doing things like he did on Monday. But he's over. It's done. He needs to retire and just let it go. And
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you said, that's my number 2, the Buccaneers. I said Brady's washed. I know any Patriots fan that listens to that. Patriots fan, Buccaneers fan, they're not going to like hearing that. Maybe he's not washed.
See, why could you not, like, if you're a Patriots fan especially, you have to understand that players eventually piss away. Like, you can't imagine that Brady at 45 is going to be the same as Brady at 25. Even Bucs fans right now have to be able to see that he is not the same guy.
Well, the craziest part to me, and I'll give him props for it, is he lasted longer than Peyton as far as being able to throw deep balls and do everything. But this year, to me, he is the Peyton Manning we had in Peyton Manning's last season.
Yes.
Peyton Manning didn't look like Peyton Manning because Peyton Manning couldn't throw the ball past 20 yards down the field. Now, I haven't watched a lot of Buccaneers games, so that's not to say that he isn't doing it and that he can't do it, but the odds are that he's not doing that every play. The odds, if I were had to make a bet, not watching a lot of Bucs games, what their offense looks like, I would guess that it's a lot of screens to 15-yard passes. A lot like what it was for Peyton at the end of his career. And you cannot continue down that road for multiple years. Not to mention, Tom Brady's just, if he doesn't make the playoffs, why does he come back? To make the playoffs? To hopefully, do something in the playoffs the next year? It's just a lot of wishful thinking for a guy who's that old and doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
He can retire today, not play another game for the Bucs, and I don't think it would tarnish what he's done in his career. You know what I mean? So
I think he could have retired right after the Super Bowl with the Bucs. Actually, before then, shit. Like, I mean, the guy's been the GOAT for years now. After he won the Super Bowl with the Bucs, he proved that he could do it anywhere with anyone. Could have retired. He could retire after the season. As bad as he'd look this season, he'll still always be the GOAT. But, and it's funny you mentioned, so average yards per completion, he is third to last in the NFL at 9.6. His career is 11.5. So yeah, he is clearly not throwing the ball deeper. By the way, at the bottom of that list is the Arizona Cardinals. Just want to throw them under the bus every chance I get.
Well, so I don't think I've seen a ball past the line of scrimmage for the Cardinals. So
air raid offense, man. Air raid offense. Boom, boom, dink and dunk. Screen passes, air raid. Fire everyone. But yeah, I completely agree with Brady. It's just Bucs fans, they should be able to see it. Because I've watched a couple games and he misses a lot of open receivers. He misses Mike Evans a lot. Clearly throwing the ball shorter. He's, again, the thing on Monday was special. That was awesome. But you can't just live in that 2 minutes and be like, oh, he's still Tom Brady. It's like, no, he did something incredible. But the rest of the season, he has been average, which is fine. But when you're Tom Brady, that's terrible. Yeah. He has nothing left to prove. He has nothing left to play for. Just walk away, Tom. You ruined your marriage over this game. Just walk away and go be a commentator or play golf or do whatever the hell you want to do.
Yep, I'm with you.
So that was your 2. So my 2 is the Panthers. They cut Baker Mayfield, which I think we're all going to see is more of a Panther problem than a Baker problem. I do love Baker Mayfield. I love his personality. I love his competitiveness. Really cool to see what he did last night. He started off well, had a stretch in the middle where he struggled, and then, of course, he ended amazing. The Panthers now have Matt Corral, who's a rookie, who's on IR, so we don't know what he is, and P.J. Walker, who's an XFL quarterback. He's started games in the NFL. He's not the guy. And Sam Darnold, who has proven he's not the guy in New York and in Carolina.
John Wolford will never be the guy. PJ
Yeah.
Walker will never be the guy. Josh
Taylor
Johnson.
Heineke will never be the guy.
Josh Johnson. I'm talking about like all these guys that are given the chance because they did well in like the XFL, AAF, USFL quarterbacks, right? Josh Johnson, John Walford, and then there was a third one, PJ Walker. These guys,
yeah.
they're not NFL starting quarterbacks. They are decent backups. But they're not the answer. And Sam Darnold, not the answer. Matt Corral, maybe he is, but he's hurt. You'll never know. Can you go into next season hoping that he is? Not
See, and
knowing
that's
what
why I
you
put
have?
them on there.
Yeah.
Because even though they draft him in the 3rd round, they're going to have a top 5 pick. You can't pass up on a quarterback in that space just because you have an unknown 3rd rounder.
Not to mention they have multiple first rounders. So
yeah.
They're gonna pick.
They're gonna. Yes, they absolutely need to take a quarterback. They may even be the team to trade up ahead of the Lions to get Stroud or Young, whichever one the Texans don't take. So yeah, the Panthers 100% easily they need one. But both of us had the same number 1.
Well,
because
let me go back to the Panthers
comical.
real quick because I had a question for you and it's off topic, but I find it hilarious. Do you remember Andre Roberts?
Mm-hmm.
He was a Commander, right? He was a Cardinal.
Yep. He's a Cardinal. He's a Commander. He's a Redskin, technically.
He is on the Panthers. Did you know that? He's on the IR, but he is on the Panthers. I thought that guy retired like 5 years ago.
Their coaching staff?
No, he's on the depth chart.
Really?
He is listed as their 6th receiver on the IR. And I went and clicked on his name to go to his page just to see if it was another guy named Andre Roberts. And no, this guy was born in 1988, drafted in 2010. It is the guy. It is Andre Roberts.
34 years old.
Yeah, I was blown away that guy's still in the NFL.
Here's the amazing thing to me. Not only is he still in the NFL, but he has played for 1, 2, 3, 4,
He was
5,
on the
6,
Lions
7,
at one
8,
point.
9 teams. 9 teams that guy has played for. Wow.
I remember he was a returner for the Lions. Did pretty well as a returner for the Lions for a season. By the way, I'm fully on the off the tracks conversations right now, but I was looking. I got an iPad today. And for whatever reason, when I logged into my Apple ID, it started downloading all my pictures from my old iPad to my new iPad from the cloud. And I found a screenshot on it of a message that said, Anquan Boldin is excited to play for the Detroit Lions this upcoming season, or whatever it said. I do not remember Anquan Boldin playing a down for Detroit. Did I just block something out? Do you remember this?
I don't remember it, but it apparently did happen.
Did he get any yards? How many games did he play? This is so
2016. Yeah, he played 1 season.
2016. He played his last season for the Lions. Had
he got 8 touchdowns that season.
8 touchdowns. I know I watched every game he played. I do not remember him being a Lion. Like at all.
Yeah, that's I didn't remember that either. And I'm trying to picture it in my mind and I still can't.
Like what? That was insane to me when I saw that. And I'm like, I didn't even look it up because I'm like, he must have signed and then like decided to retire or something.
I don't even remember him playing for the 49ers. I remember the Cardinals.
I remember the Niners. I did not remember him playing his final season.
He actually had a pretty good season for the Lions there.
67 catches? That's not bad. 8 touchdowns.
584 yards, 8 touchdowns. Yeah.
How can I not remember this? Like, I'm so confused. Anyways, I just thought I'd...
Yeah, that's nuts, man. Wow. What the hell were we talking about?
Number 1, Texans. Here's our notes.
Oh, yeah.
Here's our notes
Yeah.
for this. Mine says Davis Mills, period. Yours says LOL.
Yeah, I mean, they have the number one pick. They've gone from Davis Mills to Kyle Allen and now back to Davis Mills, apparently. It is the clearest team that needs to take a quarterback. I mean, there's always one. The worst team in the NFL always seems like, all right, this team needs a quarterback. The Lions when they took Stafford, the Cardinals when they took Murray. I mean, there's always that one team, and they are absolutely going to take a quarterback. And now it's just fun to try to figure out, is it going to be Stroud or Young? That's going to be the fun thing about the offseason is, do they go with, the Kyler Murray clone in Bryce Young, or the more, sturdier, taller, slower CJ Stroud? Not slow, but slower than Bryce Young.
Yeah.
But yeah. I will say this. So again, and that was just teams that I think are going to draft them. There's so many teams that are going to make a change at quarterback based off of signing them too. The Seahawks with Geno Smith, he's only on a 1-year deal. Do they want to re-sign him to a long-term deal, or do they want to, do they want to draft somebody or try to sign somebody new? I don't know. Stafford. Does Stafford retire after this year? That's what I want to ask you. Now that we talk about quarterbacks, I want to ask you, I'm going to go off topic now. He's got the neck injury. He's won his Super Bowl. Does he walk away after this season, or does he come back and keep trying to play?
Okay. I think he'll keep playing. And the reason for that is because I don't think he doesn't want people to remember him. And I don't know why they ever would, but that's the way you end your career is a lot of what people think of you, especially when they're not Lions fans and they don't watch his entire career. A lot of people don't think about the fact that if you look in the top 5 of the Iron Man list for players, Matthew Stafford's, I think he's number 2. It would be nice to look that up and figure it out. But I know that Matthew Stafford.
So you said Iron Man, is that like most games played without missing one? Or?
Most games played without missing a game. Matthew Stafford had a hell of a record before his last season in Detroit. And I don't think he's a competitor, A, first of all. And B, I don't think he would ever want to be seen as just going out injured.
Yeah, and I get that with him. I look at it and I think, I try to put myself in his shoes. I don't see him winning another Super Bowl. I mean, you can see this season the Rams are starting to fall apart. They've got a bunch of bloated contracts. Like they went all in to win that one Super Bowl, and that's basically all they're going to get out of it. And I mean, if I was him, man, like I don't think there's ever going to come a time when the casual NFL fan respects Matthew Stafford. Like he never gets it from the national media. Even when he was playing well last year, it wasn't so much like, oh, Matthew Stafford, look how great he is. It's, oh, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Odell Beckham, you got like, I don't know. If I was him personally, I'd retire. It's just at this point in his career, especially with neck injuries, it's just why keep pushing yourself?
Okay, I got it. I got the stats up. So it's quarterback position, and he's in the top 7, meaning he's number 7. Matthew Stafford started 139 games straight, plus 3 playoff games. The fact that we have 3 playoff games, and I can only remember 1 against the Cowboys because it pisses me off. This is great. But anyways, his records is 139 games straight, and the only people in front of him are Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Brett Favre. So if you think about quarterbacks that played every week in consecutive starts, that's pretty freaking good. So
yeah, but I mean that streak's already been broken, so it's not like he's gonna start another 139 game streak.
No,
I don't know. It's one I'm curious to watch. I read the Andrew Luck article on ESPN about why he walked away, and it really just makes you think for these players, like when they are dealing with these injuries, and like Stafford at this point, unless he's wants to move up career stats like career yards or career touchdowns, He has nothing left really
Nothing
to
left to
prove, at least in
prove.
my
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah, so
So here's my
I'm
question to
curious to
you:
see.
do you think Stafford's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you think that? Do you think that Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Okay. I can't remember if we ever had this conversation because
We have, because you've had this
this
conversation with Wink on the
That's
Shadow
what it is,
podcast multiple times. And here's the thing, and I think Eli Manning, and I don't want to say Super Bowls are everything, but he does have two.
But
So
they're two of the most memorable ever.
yes. So if I had to choose between the two of them, I would put Eli in first.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But Matthew Stafford, absolutely.
My whole point was that if Matthew Stafford's career as a whole, which has amazing stats on a bad team, and he has now as a Super Bowl, if you were to stack that up against Eli Manning, who had above average stats and two of the most memorable Super Bowls ever, Eli
has added already.
You can't put Stafford in and not put in Eli. That was, I guess, my whole point. So.
No, and I completely agree with you.
I just couldn't remember where you stood on that.
Oh yeah, we've discussed that before because I think those are two of the most disrespected quarterbacks. When you think about, and maybe it's just because it's our lifetime, but you look at Super Bowl winning during the season, you know, or just stat wise during the season. The Iron Man thing you looked up. I mean, yeah, it's like Phillip Rivers. If Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, he never won a Super Bowl.
Right, exactly.
But in my mind, he still should be in the Hall of Fame.
And then
maybe not first ballot, but he should still be in there.
Oh, Phillip Rivers is a beast. Eli the Patriot Killer. That's exactly it, Leica.
Yes, he was.
For sure.
All right. So that's our top 5. That took a while because we got off topic a bunch of times. So we will try to blow through our Week 13 review to make this go a little faster.
It's funny because when I came up with the top 5 thing, I'm like, oh, this will be a nice quick thing at the beginning of the podcast. But it's one of those things that's just a conversation starter, and once we get going, we can just go forever on it.
Yeah. Well, once you start talking about quarterbacks, and you can just keep going from team to team to team to team.
Yeah. For sure. All right, go ahead.
We're gonna do a rapid fire Week 13 review. Jaguars Lions. Jared Goff played very well, but the thing that stood out to me is just how good Amon-Ra St. Brown is becoming. That guy is getting to be top 10 in the NFL receiver, if not higher. And then for the Jaguars, it's funny. We mocked them for signing Christian Kirk for that much money, which kind of resent the wide receiver market. But that dude has legitimately become a number 1 receiver for Jacksonville. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. I liked him in Arizona. He was underutilized. That dude's getting a chance to shine in Jacksonville. He is earning every penny of that contract.
An Arizona boy, right from here in our own backyard, going to Arizona high schools, played for Arizona. It's awesome to see it. So.
And then we didn't re-sign him because we needed to pay AJ Green.
Let's just not go into that.
Not gonna get into the Cardinals.
Awesome to see the Lions score so many points in Jameson Williams' debut, where Jameson Williams played I think it was 9 plays, was targeted once, and didn't have a catch, and it didn't even matter to me.
You know what's the best part about that is not only the Lions score 40 points, they didn't give up 41.
I don't know what's happened with our defense and the defensive backs figuring everything out, but they still play games where I'm like, I don't know what you're doing back there, but they're not making those plays on every play, so they are still actually getting stops and getting the ball back. So, and the biggest stat to me in that game was the fact that the Lions scored on all 8 of their drives. They did not. That's
awesome.
Once. So
that's awesome. Like I said earlier, it really does feel like they're starting to put some things together, and now going into the offseason, now all of a sudden next year, I mean, they legitimately are a contender to win the division. So
that's the best part is like, it always felt like if they finally got some wins under their belt, think about the end of last year, right? Where they won 4 of their last 5. They started getting that everything started churning, right? Excitement got back up for Dan Campbell. we come into this season, and then at some point we're 1-6, and it's like, well, what the hell happened? Suddenly you win 4 out of 5, and you're right back in it, and the wheels are churning again, and it just doesn't feel like, despite the defense playing badly sometimes or making really dumb mistakes, it's like they've figured out how to put together a full game, and they're doing it consistently. And they barely lost to the Bills to not have 5 in a row. So,
well, not only that, but going back to the beginning of the year, 3 points to the Eagles in week 1, 4 points to Minnesota in week 3, 3 points to Seattle in week 4, 4 points to Miami in week 8. I mean, they had a lot of close games, and then now it seems like they're able to win those close games. I really do think this team is going to be a breakout team next season.
It's going to be can't wait. It'll be a lot of fun.
All right, Steelers Falcons. Najee Harris had 5.1 yards per carry in that game and still only had like 16 carries. That was just upsetting to me as somebody who drafted him.
I picked the Steelers for that game. You picked the Falcons.
I think I did.
And this was the first. Those 2 games right there were the 2 that offset for us, because I picked the Lions, you picked the Jags, and I picked the Steelers, you picked the Falcons. So there was immediate canceling out there.
For the Falcons, like I said earlier, they benched Mariota. They're going to start Desmond Ridder. I mean, at this point, they don't have anything left to play for in the season. I think
no point not to.
Not a chance to win that division. But this is 2 teams that, they're not really playing anything. They're not playing for the playoffs right now. Kenny Pickett's playing to try and develop, and the Falcons are going to start Desmond Ridder. Nothing much else to talk about. Packers, Bears. You picked the Bears in this one, I think.
I did pick the Bears.
Yes. Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose to the Bears. He's literally, I think, lost 5 times in his career to Chicago.
I was banking on the playing down to your competition thing.
Yeah. Well, they did. I mean, the Bears started off the game very well, but then Justin Fields, 2 fourth-quarter interceptions. He tries to force things. When the game's on the line, he's trying to do it himself. He's forcing throws. He needs to mature a little. But as far as talent-wise, that dude's still just fun to watch. The rushing, he's getting better at throwing when he's not trying to force throws. That's just another one I'm excited. He doesn't have any talent around him, but I'm excited to see how he develops as a quarterback going forward. Because you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, the first couple years, was kind of, he looks like he could do something. Well, then they go out and they get A.J. Brown, they get talent around him, and that guy explodes this year.
Remember what I said at the beginning of the season? I don't believe in Jalen Hurts. Why are people going all in on Jalen Hurts to start this year? And then he completely proved within the first 3 games, including the first week was enough for me. I watched every down against the Lions, obviously, and I saw what he could do, and then you've seen what the Eagles have done this season. So,
it's on the Bears to use their $100 million in cap space to put some talent around Fields and see what he can do. But I do like Justin Fields. I don't know, what's going to happen going forward. Jets Vikings again. Mike White played pretty good. I mean, he had the interception in the first quarter. And then he had an interception on the last drive. They only lost by 5. He almost led that comeback in the fourth quarter. I mean, they were down by much more than that before he attempted to lead that comeback. But I good for him. I said last week, he beat up Chicago in his first start. Not impressive. I was actually pretty impressed with the game against the Vikings. They didn't win, but he played fairly well. For the Vikings, the thing that stands out to me about them, their defense isn't that great. I don't think they're going to go very far in the playoffs. I use the term bad good team. They're a good team based off their record, but they're actually a bad team talent-wise. I think this is, it's like the Titans to me. I see them, all right, you're going to make the playoffs as a wild card. Depending on who they play, they might lose immediately.
Let me just preview my picks for this week. The Vikings are playing the Lions at home in Detroit. The Lions are going to beat the Vikings.
I believe they are favored to beat the Vikings this week.
They should have beat them when they played in Minnesota. Yep. They will beat them at home.
Yeah, the Vikings are not very impressive. They're like 10-2 as well. So Commanders Giants. We tied. Ties are lame. I hate it. I hate everything about that. But it is better than a loss.
I gave us each a win just to feel good about it.
Oh, all right, that works. Yeah. So
because we both picked the opposite team in that game. So I was like,
so you should have given us a loss too. Give us a win and a loss just to balance it out.
We can add a loss to our totals too. Yeah.
No, it is better. And I'm thinking just for playoff tiebreakers against the Seahawks, because that's basically the main competition for us to make the playoffs. The tie is better than a loss. But I don't know if you saw the game or the recap or anything. In overtime.
Oh, I watched overtime.
Okay, the first drive, they got to the Giants like 45 and then just ran the ball and punted.
Yeah,
because everyone knew they were going to run the ball.
Let me go find.
I'm sitting there yelling about it like, oh, they're going to run because Taylor Heineke will throw an interception right now. They will not let this guy throw the ball. So they run. And then on third down, they throw the ball on a screen and he almost throws it backwards for a fumble. Like it's so if you're going to get in that position, just play for the win. Like it was so infuriating. And again, Heineke,
the text, because this is what happened before they would have gone for that the field goal. I sent a text that said, "I love screens, right, Richie?"
Yep, that was the third down.
Yeah, the third down was a screen behind the line of scrimmage that got stuffed. All they needed was maybe three. Is that what happened?
He threw it incomplete, and it almost went backwards and led to a fumble.
Yeah, so because I remember looking, I'm like, if he'd thrown the ball past the line of scrimmage on like a slant for like 3 or 4 yards, they'd have gotten to that field goal line where they could actually have just at least attempted the field goal.
And on second down, they lost 3 yards because everyone knew they're going to run there.
Yeah.
So it's like just do play action, roll Heineke out, let him scramble, let him throw 4 yards to tight end. But they were worried about him turning it over, and so was I. Yeah. So it was frustrating. They had that chance in overtime. We were playing in New York and we tied. We play in Washington Sunday night next week. I feel like we can win that game. And if we win that game, then it puts us in the driver's seat as far as the playoff positioning goes. And our last 3 games after that are San Francisco, who's starting Brock Purdy, the Browns, who's starting Deshaun Watson, who look like ass, and then the Cowboys in Week 18, who should be resting people by then. So that game against the Giants on Sunday night is going to make or break our season. But we'll get into that next week when we preview it. Titans, Eagles, A.J. Brown revenge game. That dude went off. You knew he was going to. He was pissed at Tennessee. I guarantee they threw him the ball as much as possible. The Titans, again, it's the same thing as the Vikings. I call them a bad, good team. The Titans are a good, bad team because the Titans are worse than the Vikings. But
was that the game that Treylon Burks caught that amazing touchdown in?
And got destroyed in the
he just got absolutely demolished in the end zone, but made that touchdown catch.
Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? I thought that was when I was on my way to the Cardinals-Chargers game.
I'm bringing it up to look.
All right.
They played the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Treylon Burks 25-yard pass from it was in the first quarter of that game.
Okay. Yeah, that was a great touchdown, but yeah, again, same thing with the Vikings. The Titans are just they benefit from playing in a terrible division. That's all it is. Broncos, Ravens, Lamar's injury, that really sucks for Baltimore. I know Tyler Huntley came in last year and played a couple games and didn't do terribly, so we'll see how that pans out. But the problem is the Ravens don't have a running game right now. So if Huntley can't do it all himself like Lamar does, they're going to start losing some games. And Denver is just a flaming garbage can.
I was saying they only beat Denver 10-9. No, it was not.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Lamar going out.
Preview for this, when we get to the previews for this week, the Ravens are at the Steelers. The Ravens are not favored. That's just where the Ravens are. The Steelers are favored.
I mean, Tyler Huntley, I'm curious to see what he does, but it's gonna be interesting. Browns Texans. I said it just a few months ago. Deshaun Watson looked like ass. The Browns defense and special teams won that game. They had 3 touchdowns. I mean, the Browns offense even score any points in that game themselves. Some field goals, pathetic. I mean, you're playing the Texans, like that's pathetic.
That's the part that should be worrying Browns fans for this year.
Yeah, that was, and I know it was his first game back, and maybe he's working out the jitters, but that's just ass. For the Texans, we said it in the opener. They went from Davis Mills to Kyle Allen back to Davis Mills. They don't care. They're tanking this season. They're done caring. This week against the Cowboys, Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins are both out. So their top 2 receivers are out. The Cowboys they're favored by 17.5. They'll win the game by 20.
It's bad. Don't pick the cover.
No, I did put $1 on the Texans to cover that spread because you win $11 if they do. Because that's I was like, yeah, why not? Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Seahawks Rams.
By the way, talking about betting, did you notice that the it's not DraftKings. What's the one we use?
FanDuel.
Bets. FanDuel upped their Thursday night covers from $5 parlays to $10 parlays.
No.
Yeah, so it's now if you bet $10 on a parlay, you get your $10 back if you lose it on Thursday night instead of $5. That's why I bet 10 on Thursday night. I'll bet a $10 parlay on the Lions on Sunday with the money I got back from Thursday night. Oh, spoiler alert.
Nice. Yeah, we'll get into that. Where was I? Seahawks Rams. So the Seahawks they won, but Kenneth Walker's hurt. That's pretty big for them.
That's massive. Since
he's having such a good rookie year.
Who was the other?
Breece Hall.
No. For the Seahawks, the starting running back before Kenneth Walker.
Oh, Rashad Penny.
Yeah, Rashad Penny's out. Now you've got Kenneth Walker questionable. That's not good for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Which is funny because with the 49ers and their situation, now I don't know what's going to happen in this division. I know the Cardinals aren't doing anything, but...
Well, the Seahawks have a pretty easy schedule. They play the Panthers this week, then they play the Rams again. So, I mean, there is a chance that they can leapfrog the 49ers. But, they haven't been as dominant, in my opinion, as they were earlier in the year. But they're still going to win games because they have a pretty easy schedule. So, I think they'll be fine. And then for the Rams... Not much from this past Sunday, but we'll talk about it more when we talk about our bets. Baker Mayfield last night, awesome, fantastic. Dolphins 49ers, Brock Purdy. I feel bad for the 49ers, man. They're a division rival, so I don't feel that bad. But Trey Lance gets hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, is playing well, winning the division, and then he gets hurt, and now you're with Brock Purdy. Yeah, I know he looked okay against the Dolphins, but the guy was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. It's going to be interesting to see how he fares when he's playing a full game and a defense has time to prepare for him. Mm-hmm. And then for the Dolphins, Tua really struggled against the 49ers, and they have a really good defense. And was it just an off day, or have teams can they start to figure out how to slow down the Dolphins' offense?
How to not let 2 wide receivers get 100 yards a game.
Yeah, exactly. You just shut down those 2 receivers and you shut down everything. Chiefs Bengals. Dude, Bengals, again, this is the 3rd time they beat Kansas City in this calendar year.
This was the fourth game where you and I picked different, and I picked the Chiefs. Bengals destroyed their... Joe Burrow
is Patrick Mahomes' daddy. Yeah, he owns him. And for the Chiefs, one thing I've noticed, I took Juju Smith-Schuster in fantasy because, it was the talk all offseason was, well, the Chiefs have to have a number 1 receiver. Someone's going to step into that role. Nobody has. Travis Kelce's doing his thing. But I think if you look at the box score in a lot of these games, if Kelce doesn't go off, the Chiefs struggle. And I think that they need to make a move for a true number 1 receiver. I think they miss having a stud next to Kelce. Because right now it's just Kelce and friends. They need someone else to go alongside Travis Kelce who can take over a game like Tyreek used to.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at their stats for the team, right? Kelsey has 77 receptions for 968 yards, 12 touchdowns. The next best for touchdowns is Mecole Hardman, who never does anything, with 4 touchdowns. Juju has 71 targets for 52 catches, which 52 catches is respectable, but he's only got 688 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's getting yards. He's not doing a whole lot else. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 58 catches, 586 yards, 1 touchdown. They're not getting scoring out of anyone but Kelsey.
Yeah, exactly. So
they need that wide receiver, just like you're talking. And Sky Moore, 26 targets, 17 catches, 200 yards, no touchdowns. Like, he's not the guy. He's not turning into the guy, at least not this season. And then Kadarius Toney, RM,
yes,
6 catches on the team, 69 yards and a touchdown. Not the savior they hoped.
No. Well, it hasn't been yet, and I don't see it happening. I think, in fact, in this last game on Sunday, Kadarius Toney didn't even catch a ball. So, not the breakout guy. But yeah, I think the Chiefs, they got to do something about that, because that's going to hurt them. Chargers, Raiders, Josh Jacobs just going off. Didn't do as much last night as he had been doing the last couple of weeks, but
came in
for
hurt,
a guy that
so.
Yeah, he hurt his right arm. But the Raiders didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So that dude, as a free agent, either they're going to tag him, which means he's going to get paid. They're going to re-sign him, which means he gets to get paid. Or he goes somewhere else and gets paid. I mean, somewhere, wherever he goes, he's going to make a lot of money. He's one of those guys, he could go to Chicago, who just has an ass ton of money, and they'll just pay him a bunch of money. Like, and that's, good for him. For the Chargers, man, I don't know. That just sucks for the Chargers this season. Everyone's always hurt. Mike Williams is gone now that Keenan Allen's back, and they just they beat the Cardinals on a last-second 2-point conversion, but in a lot of their games, it's like they just can't get it going, and it's a shame because they have so many great players and so many players that I like, and to see like Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, and people have completely forgotten about Justin Herbert this season. Last season, that dude was like up there with Burrow and Mahomes. So everybody's talking about quarterbacks. Now no one talks about Justin Herbert.
Which is kind of, he's kind of got, he reminds me of Stafford. Honestly.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but in the way that, like, he is 4th in the league in yards, Yeah,
no, you wouldn't know.
So I know you wouldn't know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's 7th in the league for touchdowns. He only has 7 interceptions. Like, the dude's not having a bad year. He's doing what he can to help his team. They are just catching very bad breaks and not able to win. They have a better record than a lot of Lions teams under Stafford, but it just reminds me of the same type of thing where it's like he's getting the stats, he's not getting the results. So hopefully they can figure it out, if not this year, next year. But he's a really good quarterback, and it's just this limbo record they keep having where they win one, lose one, win one. It's just not good.
Yeah, it's a real shame. Like I said, for a team that I do like to root for.
Absolutely. I love my Chargers. I hate that they're in LA, but I love my Chargers.
Yes, they should have never left San Diego. Colts, Cowboys. I'm going to start with the Colts first because I want to talk about this quote I heard. So the Colts, we talked about they need a quarterback and they need a coach. I like the Jeff Saturday thing, being a former player for the franchise, getting a chance to coach. He's the time management thing a couple of weeks ago and then getting waxed by the Cowboys. He's just not ready to be a head coach. They need to find somebody else and find a quarterback. But the Cowboys, this quote, and of course it was Michael Irvin that said it, so you can take it with a grain of salt. The Cowboys are the best team in the league. Agree or disagree?
The Cowboys?
The best team in the league.
The Cowboys have the best defense in the league. I don't believe in their offense at all. I mean, they're finding ways to score, but I don't think they're the best team in the league.
I agree. I think that was pretty dumb. Again, it was Michael Irvin, so I get why he said it.
They're near the top I mean, there's no
Yes.
denying that they're a good team. I don't think they're the best team.
No.
So the question then becomes, who do you think is the best team?
I still believe the Bills are and the Eagles between the AFC and the NFC. I can't. If I had to pick one of them, I would say the Bills, just because I believe in Josh Allen a bit more than I do Jalen Hurts. Now the Bills have slowed down; they're not trouncing teams like they were in the beginning of the year, but they still have a bunch of talent on defense and offense. But I agree, the Cowboys thing, and this is what happens when they win.
Did you say that before the 49ers game or after the 49ers game?
What? Who say what?
Did Michael Irvin say that before the 49ers game or after the 49ers game?
Well, it was after the Cowboys game. What do the 49ers have to do with it?
Because I think the 49ers are better than them in the NFC before the
49ers
injury.
Oh, I see what you're saying. He said it after, because he said it the day after he said it Monday.
Okay.
I didn't know where you were going with that. That's why I was confused.
I think the 49ers are better than the Cowboys. They got very similar defenses, and the 49ers defense I think is better. And then I find that the 49ers offense is more consistent than the Dallas offense.
Better.
So
way better.
I wouldn't even have, before Garoppolo got hurt, I wouldn't even have ranked Dallas over the 49ers. So,
yep.
And then you still have the Eagles in that division, in that division. So, or conference. Yep. That's the word I'm looking for. So,
no, Eagles in the division. Yeah. Yeah, the problem is they won on Sunday night and they won big, so naturally the national media has to just fawn all over them because that's what they do to Dallas. But they beat up a Colts team.
The Colts.
Whose coach is a center that never coached anywhere up until a couple weeks ago, and 35-year-old Matt Ryan. I'm sorry, guys. They won big and that's cool. But they're not the best team in the league. Top 5, sure. They're not the best team in the league. As someone who adamantly hates Dallas being a Commanders fan, it is so annoying to me when everyone just jumps all over their bandwagon as soon as they... Can we go back a couple weeks ago when they lost the Packers? Were they the best team in the league then?
When Dak was injured and how bad they looked, except for 2 Cooper Rush games? Let's just hold our horses. Let's just hold the horses, okay?
That's ridiculous, but I just want to get your opinion because it made me laugh, but it also made me angry.
I also don't like the Cowboys, but I'm not going to deny that they're good. I'm just not going to say, I'm just not going to anoint them as the best team in the NFL for beating the Colts.
Yep.
What? If they had trounced the Bills, then I would probably thought about it a little more.
When they beat the Vikings, they trounced the Vikings, then I can understand.
Just stop right there. The Vikings are not... 10-2 does not explain that team at all. I don't understand how they're 10-2. If they didn't have a kicker, they wouldn't have beat the Lions. That's all there is to it. They could not do anything against the Lions, but the amount of kicks that were made from long distance, as always against the Lions, that's the only reason they beat them. So, I don't know. I don't want to hear it.
The Lions need a stadium that's not a dome so they can get some wind going and blow those kicks away.
Can you imagine the snow and Detroit games?
Yeah, rip the roof off Ford Field. Let the weather in there. All right. Well, last game from last week, Saints-Bucks. That was the Monday night game. We talked about it. Brady with the comeback. It was ridiculous. It was amazing. And then for the Saints, we talked about in the opener. They need a quarterback. I mean, they clearly, Dalton and Winston aren't it. But that was week 13. We're going to dive into our week 14 Thursday night foreplay. Only reason I want to talk about it is because I got so damn close once more.
First off, I did not get close. I got 1 out of 4 on what should have been one of the easiest things ever.
You got, and it was crazy. I saw, so you had the Derek Carr over 1.5 yards rushing. I saw that, and I almost put it on there because I was like, how is he not going to get that? But I was worried. I'm like, why did Vegas make it so low? Does he not run? Is he Tom Brady? He doesn't run at all?
his stats did not show much rushing. Because when I do these, right, I look at like game logs for characters for players, and Derek Carr, I think his longest rushing game was 70 yards in like week 4, and then the rest were like 4, 0, 0, 0, -3, 5, 10. Like it was going to be a question. If he rushed, obviously he's going to get 1.5 yards. If he doesn't rush or he gets sacked, he's not going to get it. Well, I looked at who they're playing in the Rams without Aaron Donald, and I'm like, he's probably not going to get sacked. Odds are he's going to rush for 1.5 yards. So I took that one. And turns out that's the only one I got because Foster Moreau, the tight end, did not catch a single pass somehow.
You know why? Because I started him in a fantasy league where I'm fighting for the playoffs. So he gave me a freaking goose egg.
A goose egg. And then Mac Hollins couldn't get 25 yards. Another guy that gets a lot of yards every week couldn't get 25 yards. Josh Jacobs, a guy that is leading the league in rushing and all-purpose yards, couldn't get 20.5 yards receiving. I don't know what the hell happened. There was a stat. In the end, it didn't happen. So I think the totals were 17-16. So that's what? 33 points. I would have lost all of those. But it was looking really good when I stopped watching the game with 3 minutes and 55 seconds left because I placed a $1 bet on the under of total points being under 19 points, which was plus 3,200, and I was about to make a bunch of money on that $1 bet. And I could not believe that game went the way it did in those last 3.5 minutes. I stopped watching at the 3 minute and 55 second mark. I didn't even see the comeback because I thought it was over.
I was listening to it on the radio on the way to Phoenix, and when they were backed up on the 2-yard line, I was like, yeah, this game's clearly over. And then what a drive. I mean, it helped out by the penalty, but what a drive.
Multiple penalties.
Baker, I really hope this is the beginning of a good stretch run for him with the Rams to end the year, to give him a chance to revitalize his career. He continually got shafted in Cleveland and then Carolina because people just don't want to believe in him. Even when he does well, even when he won games for the Browns, people just didn't want to believe that he could be, the franchise. So I'd like to see him get another chance somewhere next year. I'd love him to come to the Commanders. I wanted us to trade for him instead of fucking Carson Wentz. But
it's so sad.
Maybe we'll get him a year later.
I don't know what it. Maybe I should ask my buddy from when I was in the Navy. He's a Browns fan. What he thinks of him, because I really want to know what it was about his time in Cleveland that made people dislike him. Because he won games, he won playoff games, and it just didn't make any sense to me the hate he got, and the fact that he's a likable guy. I just don't understand. You're winning games. You're a likable guy. What turns people sour? And especially in Cleveland, you've seen all the memes. You've seen the memes of the past 20 years with that freaking picture in that shop wall, where it's a jersey with all the names of the starting quarterbacks for the Browns over the last 20 years that goes on forever. And then you got a guy that's good, wins games, and somebody gets run out of town. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep.
So I don't know. Well, I hope he does. I take that back. I hope he does well and doesn't win games for the Rams, and then I hope he goes to the Commanders and does well for them. I don't want him to do well and win games
that higher
for the
draft
Rams.
pick. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing with Baker. 2020, they go 11-5. They make the playoffs. They win a playoff game, and then the next season he's 6-8. A little bit rougher. He took 43 sacks, which was 17 more than the year before, so that sucks. But then that was it. 1 year removed from winning a playoff game, they got rid of him because they wanted Deshaun Watson, who then they paid a bunch of money to, and then on Sunday looked terrible against the Texans. Karma, Cleveland. I'm sorry.
Also didn't play
you had your franchise quarterback, and you ran him out of town after one bad year. It's ridiculous. I really do. Like I said, I wanted him to come to Washington this season. We didn't because Dan Snyder. Next season, hopefully, as a free agent, bring him in. And yeah, I loved Baker in college. I love him in the NFL. His personality, his drive. Did you see him after the game last night, headbutting guys with no helmet on? The thing that he got, made fun of in Carolina, he headbutted somebody when he wasn't wearing a helmet, and everyone's like, "Oh, what an idiot." Well, then last night he did it as a joke, like, I'm going to do it again because screw you guys. I love crap like that. Yeah, I'm rooting for Baker the rest of this season. The only reason I'll care about the Rams at this point. But finish it up. Last night, my bets, I got 3 out of 4, and it's actually kind of funny. I was 3 out of 4 right up until the end of the game. I had the under 49.5. That was easy. Josh Jacobs anytime touchdown. That was easy. And then the Raiders money line, which was looking easy. And then I had Van Jefferson 25 plus receiving yards. He had 1 catch for like 14 yards the entire game. Had 1 wiped out by a penalty in the fourth quarter that would have gotten it, but didn't count. So I figured, all right, 3 out of 4, that sucks. Well, then Van Jefferson catches the touchdown at the end of the game to get his yards, but the Rams win, and I lose the Raiders' money line.
Yeah,
so I was always just 75%. That's just, I'm going to start doing a 3 play on Thursdays, because I could get 3. I just can never seem to get 4. So one of these days, we're going to hit, before the end of the year, at least one of us is going to hit one of these damn parlays.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. One of us is going to hit. Let's go back. One of this is. Okay. So let's
keep going back. Let's keep going back.
Let me just show how much of this 1.5 liters of sangria I've drank.
Almost gone. Yeah.
That's why I'm having a hard time speaking, and I also spilled a bunch of my pants while you were talking, so that was fun. But
quote unquote spilled.
The one of us is going to win the Thursday night foreplay.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you remember the screenshot I sent you, but I won a Sunday afternoon foreplay.
Oh, I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So let me just throw that out there real quick because I'm proud of that one. In the Lions-Jaguars game, I had Jared Goff, 250 yards, got it. Evan Ingram, 25-plus yards, got it. DJ Chark, 25-plus yards, got it. And DeAndre Swift, over 19.5 yards rushing, which seems like the easiest bet in the world. And I won it. So I did. I have won a foreplay this season. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, I mean, if we're counting any parlays, I've won a couple parlays this season. But I was talking. I did.
Yeah, I didn't say anything, and you never told me. I would have been excited for you.
I thought we were just doing the podcast Thursday night one. I won this one back when the Commanders played the Falcons. It was a 6 play. Gibson 25 plus, Robinson 25 plus, Cordero Patterson 25 plus, Tyler Algier 25 plus, under 50.5, and the Commanders by 7.5. It was a $4 bet, and I won $13.
Those are
put it on camera right there.
Hey, there you go. Well, that is funny that that's 4 different players rushing for 25 yards and you won it. That's crazy.
Yes, because I knew both teams like to run the ball a lot.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, I do cheap parlays, on Sundays. Most of the time it's like $1 or a couple bucks here and there.
Oh, I can't wait to use that free...
I want to win one on the podcast because, I want to be able to come on here and show it and say I won a damn Thursday night one.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cheapen the foreplay. My bad.
Oh, it's fine. I've been doing it too. I just...
I needed to feel better about myself because I have not won any parlay before that one. So.
Oh, see, and that's why I do them on Sundays because... especially with Commanders, like you did with the Lions, we know our teams, we know what the offense.
Know what they're going to do. Yeah, that's what happened. All right, well, let's move into Week 14 preview. Week 13 results: Richie went 12-3.
What up?
He hit his bonus pick. I went 11-4, also hitting my bonus pick. So there we go.
I lost some ground to you last week, and I gained some of it right back this week. So
the literal one that switched it for us this week was the Chiefs Bengals. That was the one where you gained a point on me.
That's a good game too. There's some games this week that I think are going to be pretty tough.
Yep, for sure. Going off the season score, I am still ahead by a game. Half game actually. Yeah, 112 and 68 is so far my record to your 111 and 68.
Yes.
For anyone out there listening,
I still just like to point out.
Think about the bonuses there. So if you think it's weird, there's some bonuses in there. And
last week, if again, I keep saying this and I never do it. If we bet $1 on each of the games we picked, not a parlay, just individual, we would come out ahead every week. Like we're constantly finishing 12-3,
which is
or
so
11-4. Like
I might do that this week with my money from my parlay I won last week, because I always think I should do that, and I never do. I've done it once, and that one time I did it, I made pretty good money. So
we're not going to win $20-$30, but you'll come out ahead. You'll come
out ahead, and I'll make money for the next week. It's
exactly.
We both have very good records this year, so that's the main point.
We do. That's pretty nice, because fantasy football has been terrible for me this season. So at least I can still pick teams to win.
All right. Well, I'm gonna already pencil in the first game that we're gonna talk about, and that is the Vikings at the Lions. The Lions are favored by 1.5 points. I think the Lions are going to beat them, because they should have beat them the first game, and now they're playing at home, and the Lions are tearing it up. So
yeah, I agree. I think the way the Lions are playing right now, they look like a completely different team than when they played Minnesota a couple weeks ago. It is at home. Minnesota's coming off of a barely beating Mike White in the Jets game. So yeah, I think the Lions get this win.
Awesome. Okay, glad we agreed. Jets at the Bills. Bills are favored by 10 points against the Jets. They do not believe in Mike White in Vegas.
I mean, it's obvious. I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm not picking a Mike White upset against who I consider to be the best team in the NFL.
I meant to say this last week. In our Dynasty League, I had Stafford and Trey Lance were my two quarterbacks. So Trey Lance was going to be the backup to come in when Stafford was on his bye, and then Stafford was the quarterback the rest of the time, which, most of the time, Mr. Iron Man, you can count on him to be the guy. That's how I won so many games last year. Well,
did you win the championship last year?
I was in it. I didn't win it. But the guy that did win it is terrible this year. So, I mean, if he wants to brag about that win last year, he can do that.
Oh, believe me, he constantly brings it up when he's talking about the Dynasty League. He comments on.
Why would he talk about this season when he's terrible?
No, he's a Bears fan. He lives in the past.
Yeah.
He called me up the other day to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the Bears beating the Redskins 77-3 or some shit back in the 40s. And I said, you're literally living 80 years in the past. Like, come on.
I mean, I could live in the 4 championship era of the 50s for the Lions, but I don't. I wasn't alive. But yeah, so the moral of the story ends with Trey Lance got hurt, went to the IR. He's now on the IR. Stafford is my starter still. I signed Garoppolo because Lance is out. Stafford goes on the IR. Well, we're past the 49ers bye, so I'm riding Garoppolo to the end of the earth on a team that's pretty decent in our Dynasty League. And then Garoppolo gets hurt. So I have to pick a quarterback up off of the waiver wire. Did you see who I picked up?
Did you pick up Brock Purdy?
I picked up Mike White. So I really hope that Mike White can play decent against the Bills and ride out the end of the season well, because that is the guy I'm hinging my fantasy championship on.
You know what's funny? I know that you have quarterback troubles, and I was thinking about it. I was like, if the trade deadline was a little bit later in the season, I would have offered you Deshaun Watson. before he played on Sunday and looked
Before
terrible.
he looked bad.
Yeah, and maybe you would have wanted him.
Yeah.
But now I think at this point it's like, I'll just go with Mike White anyways.
No, it's where it might be someone else next week. Who knows? If Mike White it can, because his first game was amazing, his second game he was okay, and now he's playing the Bills. So God only knows what's going to happen for me.
If I remember when I was looking at my fantasy sleepers, the Bills' passing defense is not very good. So there is the possibility that Mike White does have another good game. I don't know, man. I'm still picking the Bills to win, but there is a possibility that Mike White like throws 3 touchdowns and 300 yards,
which would be glorious. Because when I saw Garoppolo was hurt, I'm like, son of a.
Well, hold on. Let me look at your dynasty record compared to mine, and I'll tell you whether or not it'll be glorious.
I think you're right around the same record as me.
Oof, yeah, no, I'm gonna need Mike White to drop out of that game actually.
To suck it up tremendously.
Yeah. They're gonna put Zach Wilson back in right before kickoff.
Well, then I guess I'll sign him for the next week. Yeah. Oof. Like the guy. Who am I playing? I'm playing your dad. Great.
Oh, and he's 1 game behind you for the division too. I wonder if you have the same record. I wonder who would win the division.
Oh,
boy.
This
he will.
The good news is
he will not let you live that down.
The good news is I still have all of my good players that are not named Mike White. So no.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be I'm playing for the playoffs in 3 fantasy leagues out of like 7, so not very good for me this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in them. I won my division in 1. I'm 100% in the playoffs in 1 league. In the dynasty, I'm in the playoffs right now, but if I lose, I may fall out. And in our other ESPN, what I call the family league, I am 7, so I need to win and I need help to get into the playoffs. So hasn't been a very good year for me fantasy-wise, but I digress. All right, next game, Browns-Bengals. Bengals are favored by 5.5.
Well, I did not pick the Bengals against the Chiefs last week. And seeing how Deshaun Watson played, and they're playing in Cincinnati, there's no way I can not pick the Bengals now. Joe Burrow has converted me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the Bengals, I think, are going to win. Even if Deshaun Watson gets back to playing better than, last week. I mean, what the Bengals did against the Chiefs, they are in like playoff form at this point, especially with Jamar Chase back. Joe Mixon's going to be back this week. I like the Bengals.
I don't even know. We don't have to talk about this one at all because I'm sure we have the same pick. The Texans at the Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 17.5 points.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Absolutely
and
insane.
Like I said, I put $1 on the Texans to cover a 17.5 point spread because why the hell not? Like, if you're going to give me $11, like if the Cowboys win by 17, I win $11. Like, all right, what the hell?
Exactly. Jaguars at the Titans. The Titans are favored by 4 points. So the Titans are favored to win by more than a field goal. If I had to bet the spread, I would bet the Jags. And I think I'm still going to bet the Jags, to be honest.
Well, damn, I was hoping you were going to go with the Titans because I also am going to go with the Jaguars. I've said it before. I don't believe in the freaking Titans. So,
Titans were bad last week. I don't care that they're playing at home. The Jaguars just got trounced by the Detroit Lions. You know they're going to want to make up for that.
Yes.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
No. Eagles at the Giants. Eagles are favored by 7 points. The first away team that we've talked about so far to be favored.
I know, that's weird. A lot of home favorites.
I still don't believe in the Giants, so I'm taking the Eagles.
I am going with the Eagles, and I am adamantly rooting for them because we need the Giants to lose. What is what?
Nothing on my computer is making a buzzing sound, but it's that when your phone starts ringing, vibrate sound. I just heard that everywhere. through my headphones.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, so weird. Okay.
Did you turn your love sense off?
Why would I do that? That's not fun.
Yeah, I need the Eagles to win this game. I need the Giants to lose. It helps the Commanders out tremendously. So I am fly Eagles fly, man. I am desperate for them to win this game, which means of course they'll lose. But
yeah. Here's another fun one. I mean, I guess that is a 1.5 difference here. Ravens at the Steelers with the Steelers favored. I'm going to take the Ravens only because I believe in Tyler Huntley. And the Steelers are bad. So
I was gonna take the Ravens too because I'm like I want to get at least one different from you. And I do believe in Tyler Huntley. I remember him coming in last year and playing well enough that all of a sudden people were talking about him taking over for Lamar Jackson or him going to another team and starting this year.
Well,
so
I'm a nice guy, so I'll give you the Broncos in the next game.
Oh, gee, what a nice fella. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens. I thought about going with the Steelers just to be different, but I really do think Tyler Huntley is going to win this game. I like Kenny Pickett. I like George Pickens didn't do anything last week, so he'll probably do something this week. But I think the Ravens.
This might be like me getting payback on picking two Steelers as my sleeper picks for fantasy last week and them not doing anything.
Yeah, good.
But screw the Steelers. That's all I'm saying. Next up, you've got the Chiefs minus 9.5 at the Broncos. And someone explain to me why that's not a higher number.
Probably because it's in Denver is my only they giving the Broncos some.
They're like the Chiefs are gonna have a hard time against the elevation.
Yeah. Well, and the Chiefs, I mean, they haven't really been blowing teams out this year. Like it's not the same offense. So where Mahomes is throwing 55 touchdowns. Like they'll win. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, obviously. But yeah, it's like. They're probably going to win like 14-10.
There are very few situations at this point in the season where I would pick the Broncos. And even then,
Broncos,
I might
Texans.
not even. Okay. I don't know who I would pick in that game. Where are they playing? Whose house
Houston.
are they in?
Yeah. Whose house are they in?
Because honestly, the Broncos are that bad.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Buccaneers at the 49ers. 49ers favored 3.5 points. All right, so you got your hands over your head, so maybe we'll be different on this one. I'm still taking the 49ers because of their defense.
Oh, okay. That's what I was actually going to say is Brock Purdy is favored by 3.5 over the Bucs.
Yes.
I know the 49ers do have a very good defense, and they do have a very good offense.
And Brock Purdy handing it to CMC is still a good combination.
Yeah. Just dump it down to CMC, hand it off. Gosh, the thing is, I'm just looking at the rest of the games, and I'm thinking we're probably not going to have any different. And I at least want to have one different from you. Give me the Bucs to pull off the upset, I guess.
I'll let you change well, obviously you can't change it till the end of the podcast, so there you go. If anything changes and you want to go back and take the 49ers.
Well, we'll see how the rest of the next 3 games go, and if we end up with at least one more different, then I might go back and change it.
That's what I kind of figured. So we'll go with the Panthers at the Seahawks. Seahawks minus 3.5.
This is the opposite. Why are the Seahawks only favored by 3.5? Because
the Panthers are, but Mayfield hasn't been starting for the Panthers, so when them cutting him really doesn't change the fact that they still play really well somehow with a very bad team.
Yeah, I still think the Seahawks are gonna win this pretty easily. I respect
think Travis
the Panthers.
Homer is the guy.
Wasn't it? Was it Homer? I thought they had somebody else, but
DJ
even
Dallas
if it's not
is there, but he's questionable.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's hurt too. Even without them, it's still Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. So I
By the
even if
way,
they can't.
was it? No, it was Debo. Was it Debo? Who played the Rams last week?
It was the Seahawks.
Yeah. So Debo
Yeah.
Samuel, did you see the play where he went in motion and he motioned to Jalen Ramsey like, "Come with me, come with me,"
Oh,
and then
no, I
they
didn't.
hiked the ball and he ran out, caught the ball on Jalen Ramsey for like a 9-yard gain.
I didn't
Since
see that. That's pretty
Jalen
awesome.
Ramsey had been following him the entire game.
That is.
He was
I
on the
had
right.
not seen that.
He was on the right side. They called an option, and he started running across the line, and he stopped, looked at Jalen Ramsey, and waved his arm like, "Come on, let's go." It looked like a freaking Dora the Explorer episode. Come on, friend. It was hilarious. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna take the Seahawks as well, even though I do think this will. I think this will be a close game. I don't think they'll cover the 3.5. I think that'll be like one of those ones where the Seahawks win by a touchdown. 21-14.
They would be covering 3.5 then.
I mean, the Panthers don't cover the spread.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. The Seahawks should be favored by like 5. Like I don't know.
It's weird.
But yeah, I'm going Seahawks. Dolphins Chargers. Dolphins favored by 3.5 on the road.
Really?
What you thinking?
I think that this is the one that makes you change your Bucks pick because I'm going to take the Chargers.
Wow. I like it. What's the thought behind that?
It's Chargers at home. They're not bad, and they're healthy. Mike Williams is not on the injured list anymore. So the Chargers will have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Eckler to go with Herbert. Plus their defense is healthy, and they're playing at home against the Dolphins, who did not play well last week. So I take the Chargers.
Like it, yeah. I'm gonna take the Dolphins. I can see the Chargers winning this one, but I'm happier to take the Dolphins in this one than I am the Bucks against the 49ers.
Are you keeping that pick?
No, I'm gonna switch my Bucks pick to the 49ers.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I told you it would be the one that switched it, and when you said that, I was like, okay, well, there's a few here that might change that.
Yeah, that works for me.
Including the next one. This one might change it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see your thought about this one. Patriots at Cardinals, Monday Night Football. Patriots by 1.5.
By the way, you can get rid of Kime. You can get rid of Kingsbury. Please keep Vance Joseph. I love that guy. Asked about this week about the Patriots offense under Matt Patricia. This is what he had to say. It's almost as if this guy hasn't called an offensive snap until this year. And I've
just straight up calling them out.
Just cracked up. Oh, I'm taking the Cardinals. I will take the Cardinals to cover that 1.5.
I also am actually going to take the Cardinals for one simple reason. They only win at home when I'm not there.
When it's not Sunday afternoon.
I'm not there Monday night. They're going to win. It's easy. In fact, I'm not going to use my bonus pick on it. I thought about it, but I'm not going to do that.
I don't listen. You had it there. You had me there for a moment.
I thought about it, but I'm like, no, because Dan's going to do something easy with his. It would just be stupid if I did something difficult with mine.
I won't do something easy. How about that? I'll take the Lions as my confidence pick. Against the 10 and 2.
That is easy.
The Vikings are 10-2.
All right. All right. So you use yours on the Lions. I'll use mine on the Cardinals.
All right. It's not like we gained 2 games on each other. We both picked these teams, so it's just an extra.
But I feel like even though the line is similar, well, the Lions are favored, the Cardinals aren't. I feel like the Lions beating the Vikings at home, I have more, it's sad to say, I have more faith in the Lions to beat the Vikings than I do the Cardinals to beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd be here in week 1.
No, I
All right.
not.
Well, those are our picks. We only have 1 game different this week because there really just weren't that many close games to really go up in the air with. So, but I'm okay with that. If I get the 1 right with the Dolphins and Chargers, I can tie you. If I don't get it, then you only gained 1 game on me, so it's fine.
And the funniest part is that of the closest games, we've picked the underdog in 2 of them.
Yes. Yeah, Ravens, Steelers, and Cardinals, Pats.
So, we'll see how that goes.
All right.
I'm actually, this is how, I'm going to bet $1 on every one of these games we picked tonight.
I think we should.
I'm going
to remember to do
right
this.
after the game. Right after the podcast, I'm going to go do that.
All right. We'll do it together so we don't forget. But yeah.
Great news is I won that 4-play on Sunday. I have enough money to cover doing that. We'll see what
got some money.
Yeah. I wasn't going to add money to my account to do that, but hey, if I got it and we're doing well with the picks, let's do it.
We've been doing very well. Of course, we'll see if that jinxes us if we do this.
I've been knocking on wood all night. I'm just
constantly.
You. I constantly have been knocking on this desk.
All right, we'll wrap up with our fantasy sleepers. Last week, I had Jared Goff against Jacksonville. That worked out gangbusters. He was the 20th projected quarterback, and he finished 4th. So I can't win in our fantasy leagues, but apparently I can pick sleepers. You had
the unfortunate thing is that these players are not available for you to pick up.
No. I should be playing daily fantasy.
Daily fantasy is where you're missing out because
I know,
the last
apparently
4 weeks you've been tearing it up.
I know. Maybe I should give that a shot. You had Kenny Pickett. He finished 23rd, so not great.
Worse
I picked
than is projected.
Yeah, only by 4. You had some worse picks. I picked A.J. Dillon at running back against the Bears. He was the 35th projected running back, and he finished 6th. So that was pretty good. You picked Jamal Williams, and it's funny. You picked the Lions running back.
I picked the wrong one.
Lions running back. Because Jamal Williams finished 34th. DeAndre Swift finished 5th. He was all Swifty.
Jamal had a touchdown.
Yeah.
He didn't
That's
do
like all he did.
But
yeah, DeAndre Swift, man, he had the day.
He's a beast. I love Swifty.
Wide receiver, I picked Darius Slayton against the Commanders. He finished 23rd, but he was projected 45th. So I'm counting that as a win, considering he finished 22 points higher than he was projected.
Yeah, if he's 20 over where he was, that's a win.
You went with George Pickens. I didn't even count where he finished because he only had 1.2 points. So I didn't bother counting where that was.
Massive L, F's in the chat. Let's go.
Yes. But tight end, we both hit tight end, which is a very difficult position. So
which is funny because we both picked Evan Ingram, and I just randomly picked another one just so I had a different one.
Evan Ingram, 20th projected tight end, finished 4th. You picked Greg Dulrich. He was the 15th projected tight end. He finished 2nd. So, yeah, we both hit on tight end. I swept all 4 positions. That felt pretty good. This week's sleepers, we've been talking about Tyler Huntley all game, and this is why I went with the Ravens. He's actually my sleeper quarterback this week. 15th projected against Pittsburgh's 25th pass defense, plus Huntley can run. I think he easily finishes higher than 15th, especially if you factor in the rushing yards. I believe you are looking up someone right now. Do you want me to move on to running back?
Just go ahead and move on. I'm looking.
All right. My running back, I'm going to go with Donta Foreman against Seattle. Seattle is 31st against the run. He's projected as the 20th running back right now. Wide receiver, I'm going to go with, not with Mike White, but part of Mike White's offense. I'm going with Garrett Wilson. He has really stood out the last couple of weeks with Mike White because Mike White can actually get the ball to him. Buffalo is 22nd against the pass, and like I mentioned earlier, I think the Jets are going to have to throw. I think they can throw. Garrett Wilson is the 14th projected wide receiver, so this one's a little bit more of a. I'm picking somebody who's already projected to finish high, but I think Garrett Wilson's going to finish top 10. So I picked him. I'm calling top 10 for him. And then tight end, I'm going Hunter Henry against Arizona because Arizona is literally last against tight ends. They are terrible.
Every year? What?
Yes. Even though we drafted Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins to cover the tight ends, thanks, Steve Keim. But they are. Hunter Henry's the 19th projected tight end. I think he easily finishes higher than that playing against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
All right.
That makes sense to me.
Let you keep looking up some of your guys.
Why don't you can talk about my quarterback.
All right. So your quarterback, you drunkenly typed in T-Law, which I assume means Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars.
That's the one. Less keystrokes. We're good.
Yeah, playing against the Titans, they did get trounced really by the Lions. What was it, 40-14? I'll call that a trouncing. So I think the Jaguars are going to come out swinging. We both picked them to win this game. I like it. I think Lawrence is going to have a pretty good day. He's having a sneakily good season too. So I think he's going to keep that up against the Titans. Let's see where he goes for running back.
For running back, I'm going to go with. Let's go with. This is tough. Let's go Sam Pirine. Assuming that what's his face isn't back.
Mixon is supposed to be back. So
is he?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know what? Give me Pirine anyway.
All right.
People coming off injury don't always play a lot of, and Pirine has been doing well. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think they could still use both. So. Especially if P. Ryan's projected low. I mean, he gets a couple catches and all of a sudden he makes it worth it.
It's funny looking. Pickens is a decent picking again this week, but that ain't happening. So
against the Ravens, yeah, they have a terrible pass defense. I actually thought about him as my receiver.
I'm actually gonna go with Devin Duvernay from the Ravens. Tyler Huntley needs a target, and I will go with Duvernay.
All right. So Devin Duvernay. I'm looking up where they're currently projected in film.
I'm kind of curious about that. But I'm looking at the tight end position now. I'm actually going to go with one of my boys, which is probably going to burn me, but I'm going to go with Brock Wright of the Detroit Lions as my tight end pick. So
I like it. I almost picked Brock Wright a couple weeks ago, but I don't they have like two different young tight ends?
They have three. They have
three. Okay.
Brock Wright, who's the number one guy. They got James Mitchell, who's the rookie. They drafted in the 5th round this year. And then they've got Shane Zylstra, who's in his 3rd year. And all three of them have done very well since the Hawk has left the nest.
The Hawk.
The Hawk, who's done nothing for the Minnesota Vikings.
He hasn't, because he's my dynasty tight end. I drafted him last year to be my stud tight end for years to come, and then he goes to the Vikings.
The Kelsey camp for tight ends and all the tight end things. And
now he's 3rd in Minnesota and not catching a damn ball.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's very upsetting. I don't even see Devin Duvernay on this top 50 list. So, man, that's a deep cut at wide receiver.
Deep cut Duvernay.
I like it. I
would look at the numbers, but they don't show them on the fantasy app. So
yeah,
I drank that entire 1.5 liters of sangria on the podcast.
I can't believe when you held it up and there was like 2 inches left in the bottle. Yeah,
this is empty, by the way.
That's pretty. That brings us back to the Shattered Orders days for sure.
Dude, at least I don't think my words is slurred. It might be. Who knows? It's more fun that way. It takes you on a journey.
Sorry, I was counting down to Brock Wright, but you are absolutely slurring your words.
It happens. 28th tight end. Perfect.
20, and I'm just gonna put Devin Duvernay below top 50. So if he finishes above 50, that's a good call right there.
Listen, when we hit the sleepers and I am this like drunk, we're having a good time with my picks.
Hey, and if these all work out, then you'll have to
Can
do
you
it
imagine?
again.
I'm like the night
Drunk
before
next week.
every Saturday night, I'm down in a bottle of sangria to just make my like fantasy draft picks.
Like playing daily fantasy.
Daily
drunk.
fantasy. I'm like that guy.
Yeah,
That's the guy.
that's the guy. That's a good name. T-Law. Let's go.
They're like, you left a lot of money on the table for your team. Well, I don't care. Let's go.
Just all sleepers. Just you take all sleepers.
Call this a sleeper team. There's got to be like sleeper leagues in daily fantasy, right? Where it's like you can't take anyone in the top 30. What do you got?
I don't know. That'd be a cool challenge where you just like cut your salary cap in half. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like you can only take sleepers. That would be fun.
I would play that for sure. That's my type of game right there.
Make it a real challenge.
Yeah, exactly. So,
All right. Well, it was a good podcast. A little bit longer than the last couple of weeks, but still under 3 hours. So
nah,
always a win.
still managed
We're-
under 2 hours. But we had
Yeah,
a
we're
lot to
under
talk.
2 hours.
I drank a lot. I took us
Yeah.
off the rails a lot. I mean,
We could have kept going off the rails, but we did try to steer back on a couple times because we could have expanded on a couple topics.
if you had drank a liter and a half of sangria, we would still be going. So
Oh,
that is
absolutely.
the difference between this and the SO podcast. Because when me and Wink would drink the same amount, things would never stop. It got real bad. So thank you for keeping me in check.
The weekend of the Super Bowl, since I usually come to Phoenix to watch it with you, maybe we'll do the podcast in person. We'll both get drunk and just talk for 4.5 hours.
Oh, that'd be a freaking blast. I'm in. Let's do it.
For
All right,
us,
everybody.
it would be a blast, not someone trying to listen.
Dude, there are people that enjoy
4.5 hour
hanging out with friends
podcast.
for 4.5 hours. All right.
4.5 hours of football talk.
So before I start getting into the socials and all that stuff, I want to say thank you to the people that have gone to the Apple Podcast app and ranked our podcast. We have a few reviews. Didn't leave any comments, but that's totally fine as long as you are leaving the reviews.
The
So
real question is, were they all 5-star reviews?
They are. We are a 5-star rated podcast on Apple.
Beautiful.
So
thank you, everyone.
To everyone out there, we appreciate you so much. If you want to come hang out with us every week, you can find us on discord.me/CoffinCorner. Let me go
don't even
type
know.
that in. I don't.
You
It's
don't
been a
even
while.
know.
It's been a while since we've hit the Discord link. Let me just make sure it's right. Discord.me/ yeah, okay, so that is it. Come hang out with us on Discord, discord.me/CoffinCorner. There's a lot of fun going on there. Any question you have during the week, we are happy to answer it. Have a lot of fun talking with you guys. That is where you can find us, discord.me/CoffinCorner. You can find us on Twitter at Coffin Corners. You can find us on TikTok at Coffin Corner Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Just search Coffin Corner Podcast. You can find every VOD from this show on YouTube. You can also find every VOD from this show on our Twitch if you missed the live stream. Those are only good for 1 week since we recorded them. So if you want to watch it, you got to get it in that 1 week. But that's pretty much it. We will be back next week for episode 18. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. I'm really looking forward to seeing if the Lions can find a way to bring themselves that much closer to 500. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on this weekend. We would love to talk to you guys about it. We would love to hear what you think about the podcast. Leave your reviews, leave your feedback. You can do that on any of the apps, and we would appreciate it. So, Richie, do you have anything else you want to tell the people before I log us off?
I think we're good. I think the only thing, and you may have mentioned this, but for anybody that listens to the podcast or checks out the videos on YouTube, we do live streams Friday nights, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. I don't know what that is Eastern, 10 p.m. So please come hang out in the chat and Twitch, and we'll chat back and love to hear the feedback, and you can watch Punk get drunk in person live on camera.
Is he filling up that class again? I don't know. Yeah, for sure. The chat is always a great place to come and help mold the podcast. If you think that I'm too hard on the Cowboys or the Patriots or anyone, or you love my Lions takes, you love my Chargers takes, you love whatever you want to say, the chat is where you can say it, and we will respond to it live. The reaction will be right there on the podcast. You guys literally can shape the show by showing your feedback. So we appreciate anyone out there that does do that. Big shout out to Leica and Brick, who are always big supporters, and to everyone else out there that is listening to the audio podcast. I know you're out there. I don't know who you are, but I love you. So thank you. And we'll be back next week for episode 18. Until then, thank you to everybody for listening. And we'll catch you on the flip side.
Bye, everyone.